Hey Guardian, did you know that you have access to all of this? Okay, I might have been a little bit dramatic there, but for good effect. So you're looking through your inventory in Destiny 2 one day and you come across this little pentagonal thingy whatchamacallit and wonder, what the heck do I use this for? Well, this is an exotic cipher and what it can do for you is a wonderful thing. Hi, my name is Todd the Gator and my channel has been revamped to help new and returning players to Destiny 2 out there wondering, what the heck is this? Or now what do I do? And the questions keep coming. So I've decided as a veteran Destiny gamer with over 6,000 combined hours between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 to help new and returning players get back on track. So let's roll. Since Bungie decided to remove portions of the game back in November of 2020 and put past DLCs into what's called the Destiny Content Vault, the exotic weapon quests were removed as well. Also, as major expansions were being implemented, the previous year's exotic weapon quests that were normally integrated into that year's seasons were retired also. So Bungie needed a way for newer players who missed out on those quests to have an opportunity to acquire lost exotic weapons. Enter the Monument of Light. In this video, I'll explain what it is, what you need to acquire these weapons, and give you a small demonstration of them in action. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my recommendations for which exotic weapons to scoop up first. If you look at the current season pass, you might notice that you will get one of these exotic ciphers once you reach a certain level. As of the recording of this video, the exotic cipher will be available at level 55 for Season of Plunder. If you want to get additional exotic ciphers, you'll need to visit Xur when he arrives every Friday and then to reset on Tuesdays. I have a video explaining Xur in the info banner above, right here. Getting these exotic ciphers will require a special cipher bounty to get it from Xur. You can use it to get a random exotic drop from Xur directly, but if you have a certain exotic weapon in mind, or like me, you hate RNG and want a direct path to acquire the exotic weapon, may I introduce you to the Monument of Lost Light in the tower. It's right in between the two player vaults. You can't miss it. What I love about the Monument of Lost Light is that you have a direct path to get that exotic weapon, but it'll cost you. In game currencies, that is. There's no freebies here, but once you invest the amount of Glimmer, Legendary Shards, Enhancement Prisms, and Ascendant Shards, it's yours. I acquired most of these exotics via long quest lines in the past DLCs, and they took a lot of investment and time as well. But thanks to Bungie, you don't have to suffer through these quests. Just buy it and move on. Now, a warning here, these exotics will take a lot of currencies, as you will see here. These classic exotics are very strong though, and you might want to consider getting them. So I'm sure you're asking by now after my long explanation, Gator, which exotics should I get? Well, all of them. It will take some time, but just pace yourself, and as you play the game and before you know it, you'll be sitting on some sick weapons. There are some that I would recommend targeting first. Keep in mind that I may be biased and what I enjoy may differ from what you might enjoy, but there are some exotics that destroy fools in any season. So that my biases won't deter your decisions, let me give you a brief demonstration of each exotic offered. This will save you time scouring the internet and maybe your sanity as well. So let's start the demonstration. I will put chapter markers here in the video if you want to refer back to these demonstrations in the future. This first set of exotics are from the Red War campaign. These are the original exotics in Destiny 2. The first weapon is a heavy-hitting hand cannon called the Sturm. This is in the family of hand cannons called the high impact frames. Very good for cover shooting where each shot does big damage. The exotic trait of this weapon is called Accomplice. When paired with the Drang legendary sidearm, which you can get from the Crown of Sorrow in the helm by the way, you can swap back and forth between both weapons and the kills from one reloads the magazine of the others, as you'll see here. This next exotic is called the Mida Multi-Tool. This rapid-fire frame scout rifle has several exotic traits. The first is called MIDA radar, which means that your radar is always up, even when you aim down the sights. The second trait is the fact that your movement speed is greater even when sprinting and aiming down the sights. The third perk of this weapon is like Sturm. It has a fellow legendary counterpart that creates a synergy. When used with MIDA Mini Tool, a submachine gun that you can also acquire from the Crown of Sorrow and the Helm, it'll grant additional speed benefits to it as well. The third exotic from the Red War campaign is called the Rat King. Its intrinsic perk is called Rat Pack, where this fully automatic sidearm can gain more damage dealing when other allies also have it equipped, and it can stack up to 6 times the power. That would be when an entire fire team is using it. It also has a really cool glow when it's activated from allies nearby. Oh, didn't I also mention that it has a perk called Vermin, where after a kill, you go invisible for a brief amount of time? How cool is that? This next exotic is called the Sleeper Simulant. Man, I remember this quest taking forever to complete back in the day. This is a very powerful linear fusion rifle that over-penetrates targets and bounces off hard surfaces. In other words, it has ricochet rounds. All I know is this thing does amazing damage to bosses. This next exotic is called Worldline Zero. It's an arc energy sword that used to be utilized by speedrunners in setting time records for activity completions, but Bungie has since nerfed crazy movements from this sword in order to create more balance in the sandbox. The exotic trait is called Tesseract, where when sprinting and pressing your heavy attack, it'll blink and spin and damage targets as shown here. There are plenty of good swords out there, so as you can imagine, this is not one I would target first. You know, the Red War campaign had a lot of really great exotic weapons. This next one will not disappoint. This scout rifle is called the Polaris Lance. This is a destructive rifle that once landing 4 precision hits will activate a bonus delayed solar explosive round on your next shot. This trait is referred to as the perfect fifth. And then there's the classic Whisper of the Worm. It used to be the go-to for raid boss damage, but there are so many other alternatives out there that also damage bosses well. Its trait is called White Nail, where rapidly landing 3 precision hits will refill the magazine. As you can imagine, never having to reload, as long as it's accurate, can speed up your DPS, your damage per second. The only gripe I have is that this weapon is considered a heavy weapon. Outbreak Perfected is a 450 pulse rifle that sends damaging nanites on nearby targets with rapid hits and precision kills, called the Corruption Spreads. This damage can add up quickly, making it a force to be reckoned with. And the very last exotic weapon offered from the Red War campaign, the original Destiny 2, is an exotic shotgun called the Legend of Acreus. This used to be an exotic quest tied to the now vaulted Leviathan raid. Man, I miss that raid. It fires a very strong close-range arc blast that overpenetrates enemies. Ever since the stomp mechanics were introduced in bosses, this weapon has not been a favorite for some time for DPS. But recently Bungie's buffed its damage, so time will tell if it's again a worthy boss weapon. Okay, the next set of exotics is from the Forsaken campaign. First up is the Ace of Spades. This is a 140 RPM hand cannon that has 2 fantastic intrinsic perks. The first is Memento Mori, which reloading after a kill loads the magazine with a few extra damage bullets, and explosions also will ensue. The other perk is like the Mida Multi-Tool, radar stays up while aiming down sights. The gun shows a smoking barrel when these rounds are active, by the way. Now we have another exotic hand cannon, a sister gun, if you will. It's called the Last Word. The intrinsic perk is it's a full auto revolver with superb hipfire accuracy and reload speed. You gain bonus damage when these hipfire shots are precision. This was also a throwback weapon from the original Destiny 1. Man, I have nightmares of this gun in Crucible back then. Let me introduce you to the first exotic bow called the Le Monarque, which was one of the few damage over time weapons. The exotic trait? Poison arrows. Arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poisonous, and precision hits with poison arrows stun the enemy and spread poison to nearby enemies. This bow has a built-in perk that will stun overload champions without an overload armor mod needed. And now we have the first exotic fusion rifle, nicknamed the Toaster. It's called Jotun, or Jotun, or Jotun. It's whatever way you decide to say it, that's what it's called. This exotic fusion just wants to burn the world and can do major damage. You hold down the trigger to charge it up like all fusion rifles, and the resulting shot has slight tracking and burns whatever it hits on impact. Fun fact, Bungie actually made a toaster in their merch store based on this weapon. Another exotic sniper rifle is the Izanagi's Burden. This hard-hitting sniper has a special perk that when you long press the reload button, will load a giant powerful round to fire, but will expend the entire magazine, and you'll need to reload and rinse and repeat. This used to be a really powerful boss DPS weapon as well, but other weapons have replaced it. But what a beautiful sniper, right? Am I right? The next exotic is another damage over time hand cannon called the Thorn. This is also a throwback weapon from Destiny 1, and I remember the questline to get it was intense. You're shooting thorns instead of bullets that pierce targets and deal damage over time, like the Le Monarch bow that we mentioned earlier, but it also has a perk where kills with it will leave remnants that will auto-reload the weapon. We have another hand cannon, and this one is called the Lumina. This is actually a pretty unique weapon, as kills with it also leave behind remnants like the Thorn, but these remnants heal you and your allies. Once a remnant is absorbed by you, you can also hipfire that noble round directly to allies as well, and it partially reloads the mag also. Good cooperative weapon. Next is the first exotic rocket launcher, and it's called the Truth. Again, another callback weapon that I loved from Destiny 1. This is an aggressive tracking rocket that can hold 3 in the magazine? But it also has a special perk called Grenades and Horseshoes, where the rocket does damage when within close proximity to targets, and does not have to be a direct hit. This is great for clearing ads and mid-level yellow bar enemies, and of course, it's void energy. The next weapon is a fast-firing full-auto pulse rifle called the Bad Juju. Another Destiny 1 weapon brought back to Destiny 2. Kills from this weapon refill the mag, increase damage for a short time, and add more super energy based on the trait called String of Curses, which stacks, by the way, with increasing damage and with kills. Okay, we have the first exotic grenade launcher, and it's called the Anarchy. I remember getting this weapon on my very first run in the Scourge of the Past raid, which has since been vaulted. This used to be the weapon for boss and add DPS, as it shoots arc charged grenades that stick to surfaces, kind of become mines, and each additional grenade links the arc charges together for a trip line of destruction as shown here. Alright, we have our very first exotic submachine gun. It's called the Teraba. The weapon has an intrinsic perk called Ravenous Beast, where it stores power when dealing or receiving damage. Once you're notified that it's been procced, you long press the reload button and unleash hell. The 750 RPM gun becomes 900 RPMs or even higher, and chews through enemies. Solar energy weapon, by the way. By now you may have noticed an additional currency that is required for these weapons called Spoils of Conquest. These can only be gotten from raid chests in game, and you can hold up to 240 in your inventory. Just keep note of that. And just start jumping into some raids. Find a group. discord.gg/GuardianDowncast. Next are the Shadowkeep Exotics. These are some powerful weapons in here. The first weapon offered is a heavy exotic bow called Leviathan's Breath. This bow is a powerhouse of damage dealing ability, but it's slow to draw. But Bungie has buffed it a little bit recently. Not only a powerful void bow, but stuns unshielded enemies and has an unstoppable champion shot built right in. No armor mod required here. You ever wonder what a sniper and a hand cannon combined can be? Well, here it is, the Ariana's Vow. a high-impact hand cannon that has a long-range scope on it for distance, but also has a built-in anti-barrier champion perk. No armor mod required. Also a perk called Death at First Glance, where your opening shot does bonus damage as well. Another exotic fusion rifle, but the first to be used in a kinetic weapon slot called the Bastion. Keep your pants on, it still requires special ammo though. The Bastion used to be my go-to weapon to eliminate the mad shotgunners in the Crucible, but Bungie felt bad for them I guess and nerfed the damage and bolt spread a bit. It's still a fun weapon to use though, and is the only fusion rifle to have a 3-shot clip after charging. Symmetry is a full auto arc rapid fire frame scout rifle that just melts adds. The special exotic perk is called Revolution, where once you build up kills in the gun, you long press your reload button to release arc seekers that track targets. How powerful the seekers are depends on how many kills you powered up in the weapon before activating it. And once you run out of them, a base damage will return. Nothing's forever, just reload, rinse and repeat. But it still slays. It's a very underrated weapon today, especially using the new ARC 3.0 subclass. What happens when you cross a sidearm with a trace rifle? Enter the Devil's Ruin. It has the trait Close the Gap, which has a variable trigger, and you have two options. You can fire semi-automatic like all sidearms, or you can hold down the trigger to charge up a trace rifle shot. It also has a built-in unstoppable champion mod. An exotic auto rifle that, as you sustain fire, the weapon overheats, causing burn damage to you, is called Tommy's Matchbook. The catalyst of this weapon actually can reduce that pain, and things like Warlock Healing Rifts can offset it as well. With the pain, there is gain though. The damage increase as you hold down the trigger is very powerful. Ever used a 4-barrel shotgun? Me neither. But you can with this full auto shotgun that fires 4 bursts individually or all at once, your choice. The 4th Horseman does great damage to bosses and can be good also. This next exotic was the first breech-loading special ammo grenade launcher called the Wither Horde. This weapon has the perk Primeval's Torment, where projectiles create a damage over time blight upon impact. A truly evil weapon, especially against groups of adds. Ruinous Effigy is one of the very first exotic trace rifles offered, which has a special trait. Kills with this weapon convert dead enemies into void transmutation spheres that you can pick up and slam into targets or just punch them in the face. Choice is yours. Beautiful weapon design, by the way. Another exotic sidearm is the Traveler's Chosen, which is a fantastic utility weapon. The perk is called Gathering Light, which as you get kills with it, stacks the light into the weapon, and it kind of glows also. Once you hold down the reload button, all this stored light goes towards restoring your melee, grenade, and class abilities. Whew, I know. How do you think I feel? A few more examples to go. The next list of available exotics comes from the Beyond Light expansion. These exotics embrace the new stasis energy introduced back with that campaign. First is the latest shotgun that combines a single slug shotgun with the more traditional spread shotgun, the Duality. Easy to use for a slug round, just aim down the sights. For a more spread shot, just hip fire, easy peasy. Good for DPS and close range adds that are annoying as well. Another exotic bow, the Tiku's Divination. A unique solar burning bow that tracks multiple targets and ignites them when hip firing. And follow up with a shot and they'll explode. A fiery good time. Good for ad control. And now the first of its kind stasis sidearm, called the Cryesthesia 77K, where after killing an enemy, a long press reload grants a charged freezing shot. A cool weapon. No pun intended. Another linear fusion rifle called the Wrench Driver, but it has a bit of a twist. The exotic perk is called Lagrangian Sight, where the weapon has an automated targeting system. Final blows on the marked targets award a telemetry pattern. Collect 3 of them without dying, and you create a void vortex that swallows up nearby enemies. Some skill may be involved here, but the rewards are great. This thing is still a terror in Trials of Osiris to this day. The first stasis trace rifle that is available in the kinetic weapon slot is called Ager's Scepter, but still uses special ammo. This weapon possesses Ager's Call, which, when killing an enemy, generates a burst of slowing and freezing stasis energy. You can freeze multiple targets and shatter them from all the ice. 2 Witchqueen Exotics are also available from the previous 2 seasons this year. The first is an unusual weapon classified as a heavy slug launcher. You know, those annoying things that are hurled your way from those nasty cabal. It's called the Grand Overture, and now you can have one. And the perk is called Wrath of the Colossus, where once charged can fire full auto arc slugs. It also has a perk called Omega Strike that loads missiles from slug hits, and once you hold down the reload, you'll launch a barrage of missiles towards a target. I really haven't mastered this one yet. I have used it, but it looks like fun. It's considered an LMG, by the way. Finally, the exotic arc sidearm called the Trespasser, a throwback weapon from Destiny 1 that after defeating a target, reloading creates a more powerful super burst, as shown here. It's a pretty fun sidearm, especially using the arc subclass. Hey, just a quick update here that there has been one additional exotic fusion rifle that was added from last season, and that's called the Delicate Tomb. It has a perk called Trader's Vessel, which fires a wide horizontal spread when shot from the hip. Final blows with this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces. Powerful foes and opposing guardians always generate ionic traces. It does have a catalyst as well, where collecting an ionic trace partially reloads the magazine from reserves. So this might be something to try out. It went with the new ARC 3.0 subclass system last season. I still have yet to master this one, but you know me, I like fusion rifles, so give it a shot. Just full disclosure here, they do list the exotic pre-order auto rifle called the Quicksilver Storm, which supposedly is considered new tech from the new Lightfall expansion to come in February of 2023. You can use it now if you pre-order the expansion. It has a unique perk called Rocket Tracers, whereby when you land multiple hits on a target, subsequent micro rockets are fired that track enemies, and it's very aggressive, by the way. The time that I've used it has been fun, especially against ads and yellow bar enemies. Hopefully this is a sign of cool exotics to come. Just a side note here, a lot of these exotics also have improvements that can drop in game from various activities called catalysts. Think of it as an enhanced perk on the weapon. Some are meh, some are game changing. Okay, if you stayed for the entire video, thanks. I will now suggest what weapons to acquire first. Your gun type preferences might be different than mine, so take that in consideration, but I'm basing this on what I've seen in game and what teammates and community members are using around me as well, and also from personal experience. In no particular order, number 1, Outbreak Perfected. A solid pulse rifle that is easy to use and destroys everything, big or small. Number 2, the Mida Multi-Tool. If you need to get somewhere fast and you want that aim down the sight's radar awareness, it's a solid choice in PvP or PvE, not to mention the companion weapon Mida Mini-Tool bonuses. Number 3, Polaris Lance. Using a solar subclass with it, this explosive scout rifle is awesome in PvE, and I've had luck in PvP as well, but it has to be on larger maps because it is a slower firing, high impact scout rifle. Number 4, if you're looking for boss DPS, I was surprised when I was using it this recently, but the DPS numbers don't lie. This is a great raid boss weapon, and considering what we old timers had to go through to get it, grab it now. The Sleeper Simulant. Number 5, Le Monarque. Not a big bow user, but the damage over time can melt things in PvE and be annoying as hell in PvP, so get it. An alternate if you hate bows is the Thorn, which basically does similar things. Number 6, no matter how you pronounce it, the Jotun is a fireball of destruction. Once you get used to the charge time and the fact that you get no close-up splash damage when shooting enemies charging at you, it's a required piece of equipment in PvE, and it annoys in PvP as well. Number 7, bad juju. With the great place that pulse rifles are in the Crucible right now, and the outstanding utility this rifle has, it's hard to beat in whatever you decide to do in Destiny 2. Get it. Number 8, Teraba. There's not many exotic submachine guns out there, and this one just chews up enemies, and it's even better in the Crucible. Put it on the list. Number 9, Traveler's Chosen. Sidearms are the meta in PvP at the moment, and even if sidearms got nerfed tomorrow, you can't deny that this little sidearm has so much utility in generating abilities. My favorite sidearm in the Crucible right now, plus it's fully automatic now, but it's getting even better upgrades in Season 19. Definitely put this on the list. Number 10, Witherhorde. There are a lot of activity in this game where little red bar enemies are there to distract and annoy you. Throw down a little blight from this thing and just ignore him. PvE must have. A few alternates here because I'm a little biased, but you still need to maybe think about putting it on the list. Full disclosure, I am not a hand cannon fan, but if I was, the first one I'd want to use is the Ace of Spades. 140 fire rate and basically a Mida multi-tool equivalent in a hand cannon form with more damage to boot. If you can't get a Gallahorn, grab the Truth Rocket Launcher. Having 3 back-to-back shots and proximity detonation is great for ad clearing, especially when there's a Void Burn modifier in effect. If you're enjoying the new Arc 3.0 subclass revamp this season, you might want to consider the Symmetry. This scout rifle has those tracer rounds, and they alone can create chaos in whatever activity you're in. It will hold its own in the Crucible as well, in skilled hands. Lastly, a big surprise to me when I was testing it, I recommend the Leviathan's Breath Heavy Bow. When I saw the boss damage numbers this thing was putting out, I have to at least mention it here, as it can be really fun to use and just creates all kinds of mayhem and activities where DPS is needed. Yes, it may not be optimum for all you mathematicians out there, but it sure is fun to use. So consider it a late addition. I did want to mention that older legacy weapons are available as well in the Monuments of Lost Light, but they all have been sunset by Bungie and they can't be upgraded to the current power level. So if you want me to talk about those in a future video, let me know in the comments. Well, I first want to thank you for sticking around to the end. A lot of work went into this video and hope that it provides you with the needed information when deciding which exotic to pursue first. And subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be the first to know what I'm releasing next for new players. Or be notified if you want to hang out in one of my live community streams. Or again, check out our weekly podcast, Guarding Downcast. Join our Discord to be around hundreds of chill Destiny 2 players as well. If you want more info from my new player series, click the video on the left, and for one of my latest videos, click on the right. Take care, and later, Guardian.